All right, everybody. It is your girl Michelle, and welcome to Cocktails with Michelle. And tonight we are going live on a very, very special episode because I just wanted to shed some light on the Project 2025. If nobody's familiar with it, um, it came out. Everybody started talking about it maybe a year and a half ago, and so tonight I have with me as guests on the stage, I have SK. Hey, what's up? Hey,
What
SK, how
is?
you doing? Hey, yeah, SK is a football coach from Columbia, South Carolina, and he is breaking into his podcast and what is it, social media content creator life. I've been watching you for the past 2 months, so welcome to the stage. And then
I
we also
appreciate it.
have Mr. We also had Jonathan Thrower,
Ooh.
community activist from North Charleston, soon to be. I see a lot of great things coming out of Shaquem.
Mm.
I said Shaquem, yeah,
Yeah,
Jonathan
no,
Thrower.
it is. Hey, I don't. It didn't let me change. I didn't even know it said that till it got on here. But hey, it is what it is. I ain't
Oh,
got no.
okay,
I ain't got
yeah.
no warrant. I ain't got no warrants or nothing. I wouldn't have put that on there. But I don't know. I just saw that. But it's all good. I ain't. Police ain't looking for me, so it's all good.
Right. So you know what? All right, I'm about to tell because somebody is over here telling me that Project 2025 is a Democratic agenda used to smear Trump and the Republicans. What do y'all think about that?
I would
Well,
like to know where they got that information from.
Really? Yeah, I
Yeah,
told her to
man,
come talk about it. I'm about to send her the link right now. Give me 1 second. I'm about to pop that link to him. Tell her to come
but
through.
you can put the
'Cause-
comments up. You can put the comments up.
yeah.
That's cool.
Mm,
Uh, my thing is this, right? In a world where there's always things that you can't prove right or wrong, hence lies what we have conspiracy theories, right? So at the end of the day, it's better to focus on content versus trying to prove or disprove something that can't be proven true or false, right? Because that's going to
right.
cause us a web of, oh, we're going on and on. Oh, this is a Democratic, plan by the Democrats. You can't prove it right or wrong. You're just going off of, something crazed or whatever. So if we just
Mm,
kind of like look at the content, what it says, do we agree right or wrong with what's in there? Because we don't have to believe everything, right? Nobody's saying
right.
we got to believe right everything. We're just looking at something, saying, hey, this is for discussion. This is what's there. And at the end of the day, we weigh it. Is it good? Yes. Whatever. But just trying to figure out, and just play on things, the possibilities and things, I think that's a waste of time, and it really causes nothing but a distraction.
Is a distraction. So, okay. So what I wanted to do tonight was go over the content of it. A lot of people had a lot of things to say about it, and it caused a big uproar and speculation. It was just saying we're going to be going into martial law, military law, and all of that. And I don't know, right about now, looking at DC, people, it's ammunition. People can look back on it and be like, oh, it's being done. And then it doesn't help. There's a whole website online. It's a tracker that's tracking whatever's in the document and as a checklist. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, chapter 14 is really what I wanted to go over tonight. Can y'all hear me good?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Chapter 14 is Department of Health and Human Services. So the reason why I chose that part is because, in the Black community, we already are facing a lot of hurdles. Let's just say that, the rise of a lot of killings in the community versus death rates as far as abortion rates and stuff like that. We're not having a lot of babies, and the fact that we have a high rate of single parenthood is Bless you. Is there anything I want to say about those issues that I just made, or is there any issues that I'm missing?
Well, as far as with pro-life advocacy and conception dates and things like that, it gets kind of really tricky when you start breaking it down, right? The right to life, like what does that actually entail? And the problem is, you have so many different extremes. Where do we find that message in the middle? So me, I kind of tend to think a little outside the normal box with that. Now, we like strong families, right? We love that. We love the right to be, parents, the right to have control over our lives and the seeds that come, after us. So I do kind of love the concept of that. Now, I think where a lot of the problem comes in is when that child is actually born, what happens next? And I actually do a lot of advocacy with fathers and fathers' rights, right? Because we always talk about broken homes and we talk about, fatherlessness in homes and things like that. And we don't really look at what perpetuates that. And we often talk about, Section 8, and government assistance and things like that. And a lot of times fathers like myself, we complain about the inability of fathers to have rights, especially at birth with a child. We have to go through court and spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars just to have joint legal custody, which we should have had at birth. And we go through, the family court system, which is just terrible for a lot of fathers, and it does negatively impact us. So where do we, try to find the solution to fight things like fatherlessness, things of that nature when we start talking about abortion and pro-life advocacy? How do we want to impact these? Because I would love to have a good pro-life agenda, because I believe that strong family values, are there. But at the end of the day, right, how do we maintain
that? SK?
I don't necessarily know that specifically the issue with, birth rates is a positive or negative thing. I think the lifestyle that we have lived or starting to live may contribute to that. Like at this point in time, both women and men in our communities are experiencing more and more success. So it's more and more independency. So I think at that point in time, people just may not be apt to start families later. Like I'm an older gentleman at this point in time. I have no kids. I haven't started a family yet. So I think I think that may contribute more to the lower birth rate than possibly maybe some of the things that's maybe conspiracy theories, things about, what the government may be doing or what they may want and may not want. I think it's just that kind of like the climate of society right now is, independence and it's kind of like just unlimited availability. Because, before social media, before just kind of like the abundance of resources, people were basically limited to the life that was in front of them. Like, you got a job at a plant, you started a family, you went from there because that's all the resources you had to you. You married a girl who you went to high school with, was around your way because that's who you had access to. Now, people successful financially can move around. They got basically unlimited options as far as the people they can meet on the internet and kind of access to, it's nothing now to travel from here to the other side of the country. Whereas before, kind of like moving out your region was just a big deal. So I just think kind of like just the advancement of society may contribute to that as much as, if not more than, any type of potential hampering from a outside source, so to speak. Like, you kind of hear a lot of people say something like, The government's trying to, limit black people or do whatever, kind of like, kill off the black community by, doing whatever they say. I mean, like, it's a lot of conspiracies out there. I mean, I'm not going to say what is more true or one has more validity than the other, but it's a lot of stuff out there. But my personal viewpoint, I think that simple fact is going off of my own experience. Simple fact that just kind of like people just kind of like, it's more to life than just selling out having kids. Like, there's lots of women out here who just not selling out having kids now. So it's not nothing that someone has put on them or programmed to. It's just their personal choice.
Okay.
Right.
Well, there's some goals that are outlined in it, in this chapter. So goal number 1, it says protecting life, conscience, and bodily integrity. Do we have any thoughts or issues with that? And do you need me to elaborate deeper into it to get an understanding of that?
Well,
Protecting
yeah.
life.
So I think the big issue comes in is the definition of life, right? See, where does life begin? Does life begin at conception? Is it at 4 weeks? Is it at 6 weeks? Like, when we're trying to understand these particular goals, that's where we run into a lot of the issues with conservatives and liberals, right? Because as a conservative might say, life begins at conception. The time you conceive, that is considered life. We must protect it at that point. And somebody say, no, well, life begins, when you find a heartbeat, right? They might say, hey, when you can detect the heartbeat, that's life. Then you might say, well, no, life is up to, as long as you're still in the womb, that's not necessarily life. You should be able to have an abortion. So now the big fight comes in is, what is the definition of life?
Mm. What you think, SK?
I mean, I'm with him as far as that's part of the issue as far as determining what you think is, what you try to see, what your thought is, and what begins life. I mean, my personal belief is that it's basically once there's a heartbeat or once there's an embryo that's going to manifest itself into a human being, that's life. That's just my personal belief. I mean, so that goes kind of like with my spiritual and kind of religious beliefs, but that's my thought on it. But the thing is, we live in a country where it's supposed to be a separation of church and state. So, and kind of feel a way about, put your own personal beliefs on somebody else as far as it goes about, subject like that, man. Like I'll state my beliefs and I'll kind of like back up my beliefs, but like, I'm not mad at somebody else for believing something else. We just fundamentally disagree on that subject.
Right. So this is the thing. At what point does a statute of murder come in effect? Right. At what point should a person be held accountable for murder? If I'm driving and I'm drunk, right, and I'm gonna get a DUI, and I hit a pregnant woman, are they gonna hit me with involuntary manslaughter times 2? Or are they just gonna hit me with involuntary manslaughter? Right? So DC, when we start looking at this, it's bigger than what we're actually, thinking on surface value when you start talking about life, right? So now when somebody says, okay, well, and these are the things that's debated on, the floor when you start listening to these debates, right? Because I listen to a lot of them, so I hear these type of arguments. So legislators will bring up, okay, so if you're saying that this isn't life, and these are things that they have, if a drunk driver hits a woman and she's 6 weeks pregnant, do we charge him with killing her and the child? So now you're starting to have people say, well, maybe that's not as different as having an abortion, but yeah, well, so when do you bring in a statute of murder? Do you wait until a child is actually born and walk out the hospital breathing and then you kill it? No, that's involuntary manslaughter. When does that apply? So it gets real tricky, and this is where, you have people who say, everybody's going to say they want to protect life. Nobody's gonna say I don't give a damn about life, right? The the concept is, at what point do we deem life necessary for there to be a punishment for somebody who takes a life?
Mm.
See, that's where we start getting into the issue. At what point do we
Right.
start holding people accountable for taking a life? If our goal is to protect life,
Right. So, according to them, in the first goal, protecting life, it says from the moment of conception, every human being possesses inherent dignity and worth, and our humanity does not depend on our age, stage of development, race, or ability. So, basically, they're saying that abortion and euthanization are not health care. It's not health care, so it will not be considered no longer health care. And it also says later on down in paragraph 3 under that, it says radical actors, I like how they use that word, actors, inside and outside government are promoting harmful identity politics that replaces biological sex with subjective notions of gender identity and bases a person's worth on his or her race, sex, or other identity. This disruptive dogma, under the guise of equality, equity, threatens Americans' fundamental liberties as well as the health and well-being of children and adults alike.
right,
That's a lot right there. They said a
right,
lot.
right. So this is the thing, right? If you wanna look at it, that concept actually marries into a lot of the what some would say radical pro-black, life agenda, right? So I'm just throwing that around just to be like funny, right? So if you think like a lot of the pro-black agenda deals with loving our family, right? You could be killing the next potential black uh, 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 father of medicine. You could be killing the next, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. You could be, killing the next Farrakhan. That's why you see groups like the Nation of Islam not be pro-abortion, right? You see like Hebrew Israelites and people who have, well, some of them just be wilding out. But you know what I mean? But groups who are pure African-centered organizations believe in the sacredness of the womb. When you start looking at Kemetic philosophy and Kemet and ancient Kemetic or Nubian philosophies, you're going to see a lot of the celebration of birth and the black mother and the womb. So if we have that type of mentality, why not? Why would we actually be pro-abortion after conception, right? If you want to kind of look at it, so yes, you might say, well, other side has their points too, right? Why should you bring in a child when a woman who can't take care of it, and then you have all these other, and you're going to be on government assistance, da 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 da. So it's kind of like we have so much of a mixed bag of opinions.
Mhm.
Anything can be justified. Everything can be explained. It's just who has the power to enact um their agenda over everybody else, right? And people could justify any position.
Interesting.
Well,
Does that sound like a Democratic or Republican ideology?
be either one, right? Because
Oh,
the whole, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Power knows nothing. Power knows no race, color. When you read books like Dr. Amos Wilson Blueprint for Black Power,
mm,
power can be utilized by anybody. You just have to be organized. You have to be prepared. You have to be, systemic and run smooth. It has to have well management. It has to be well managed. But power can go to anybody. You just have to be the most prepared. So when you start looking at whether it's Democrat, Republican, everybody wants power. So it's whoever has it.
Right. You want to comment on that, SK?
Nah, me and him totally aligned on how we see things. You know, it's all subjective
Yeah.
about whoever has power, what they want slanted. I try to
Mhm.
take it to that point, just be like, you know, whatever they way they think is going to manipulate the audience, the voters, to kind of like support them. That's the way they're kind of like slanted to. I mean, no one's going to then take the unpopular side because there's no winning outcome with taking the unpopular side. They're going to always basically,
Mhm.
I feel they're going to always go to what's going to cater to their audience or cater to getting them the results they want.
Got it. Got it. All right. So I'm gonna move on to goal number 2. It's 5 goals. Um, Goal number 2 is empowering patient choices and provider autonomy. Basic economics holds that costs tend to decrease and quality and options tend to increase when there is a robust and free competition in the provision of goods and services. Hold on, we're about to add Crisis Black to the stage. What's up, Crisis?
Okay.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, peace. What's going on?
So what's the
Peace. What's
word?
going
Chilling.
on? What's going on? Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I'm the type of brother who doesn't like to not have a shape up if I'm gonna be on video. So that's why y'all got Oscar the Grouch. So yeah, that's why
That's
y'all got
fine.
Oscar the Grouch.
Man, you can't come on here hiding, brother. You gotta show some face, man. That sound good, black man, but hey, me
I
and this
feel
brother
I
here.
feel I feel you, bro. I feel you, but I'm not doing that. I'm not doing.
All right,
I
well, I
worked
ain't
in
the
the
host, so I don't make that decision. Go ahead. I'm just messing with you.
yeah. So
So,
let me catch up on what y'all talking about. My bad, because I'm a little bit late.
I'm introducing chapter 14 of Project 2025. I've been seeing a lot of people having a lot of discrepancies about it. Some people say it's a Democratic made up document and Trump don't know nothing about it. But somehow 50% of what's in it is already done online. So it's a big debacle. And I just found some interest in chapter 14 because it's about human rights and health. So if we're going to be talking about it and the conspiracy is out there that it's 50% done, I think we probably might need, I mean, I wanted to take a look at it and what does it say? What's going on? And how does that correlate in everyday society?
So with the goal number 2, um, when you start talking about Medicare, Medicaid, insurance, and things like that. So I was looking around recently for another insurance insurance provider. Right now, I got United Health. Right? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So I got United. So I was kind of looking around for other plans, and I noticed one thing. Right? There's always one gives one anything there's like a give and there's a take. So the more plans that included more were higher, some of the less were lower. And the big issue with a lot of this is the universal health care that the government wanted to establish, and everybody has access to the same healthcare versus somebody saying, you know what, I want to go on the free market. I want to have my own insurance. I don't want anything from, the government side of it. I'm cool. And what their biggest issue is, if, somebody wants their own healthcare, are they to be punished and have to pay more higher premiums because the government wants to do a universal system, and people who, they want to make sure everybody's insured, right? So it's kind of it's Project 2025. When I was looking at what they were talking about with the health benefits and things like that, When we start talking about what Trump had, he has the Robert Kennedy Jr. And he's doing things like, you know, and they're saying this is Project 2025. A lot of people, on X and things like that, where he's coming out saying, hey, there's no snacks and cakes and candy and bad food for EBT.
Yeah.
This is Project 2025. It is. So, like, how do you feel about these issues? Like, do we agree or not?
I mean, I think in order to make us better as humans, because I have realized the overconsumption, the overindulgence, and the convenience of things has brought us down and into bad health care. So them regulating what a person can buy on, EBT, I think that's good. Like some people be buying candy, and yeah, I get it. It's none of our business what you buy, but you know what? Shoot, it's almost like they're supporting you to eat unhealthy, and then they gotta support you to make sure you stay unsick, not getting sick. If you get diabetes, now you gotta have the medication. It's like a repeating cycle, So in order to break that cycle, cut it off, promote better eating, better health habits. That way, we'll have less people, hopefully, in the future that's not on healthcare like that needs the help.
So what about somebody who says it's not the government's business to tell a person what they can buy when they get their assistance? Like, who's to say, okay, you can't drink a soda? Like, half of the people who they're saying you can't buy a soda drink soda themselves. So what's the difference between somebody walking in a store spending $1 on a soda with EBT versus $1 in a store with their own dollar?
Right? Can I say something real quick? Because
Yeah.
okay, so check this out, right? Like, here's the thing: when it comes to assistance of any type, they always come with parameters, and those parameters usually tell you what you can use it for or what you cannot use it for. Once upon a time, for those of us who are old enough to remember, you were not allowed to buy steak and lobster with food stamps. Like, some people found a way around it based off of the grocery stores in their neighborhood who would charge it to something else. But the reality was you were not supposed to buy that. There was a point in time when you weren't even allowed to buy hot food with food stamps. So now when they're trying to clamp down on certain shit, the real question becomes, are we really supposed to be buying hot food with food stamps? Are we really
Okay,
supposed to be?
so let me ask you this:
Before you throw 300 questions my way, I'm just going down this one lane to say that as a foundation, there were parameters for what you could use it for. Those parameters were set because of the fact that they never meant for you to be using this for everything forever.
right? So this is what I want to ask you, right? Because parameters.
Wait a minute, you in the matrix.
I had to
You was in the
hold
matrix.
on.
Okay.
I had to update my picture so at least y'all know what I look like.
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Or
Yeah.
did it shut off?
We can hear you now. We can hear you
Okay.
now.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, Black Man. If just say hypothetically, if Trump said no more, the Trump administration said you can't buy crabs and seafood, are we gonna say, hey man, that's racist? I mean, let's be honest, right? So just say we believe this. Say you say there's parameters. Now, what if the government say, okay, no more crabs, seafood, done? First thing they'll say is racist.
Right. So first and foremost, let's establish the fact that 40% of the people who actually use EBT benefits are not black, they're white.
Mhm.
So that's the first part. So it's like we're not really worried about the parameters from that aspect. The only reasons why that becomes an issue is because if they're saying certain foods that we think are prevalent in our community. Now, there's a key word in there or keywords in there. We think the reality is we're not even the majority of EBT recipients. So when they're trying to put limits on what EBT can get, we think that they're referring to us. It's like what they used to say: a hit dog hollers.
Mhm.
Like the reality is we're not even the majority of people who are receiving these benefits. So because we're not the majority of people who are receiving these benefits, we shouldn't be as angry as we are about the regulations on the benefits. But the reason why we are angry about the regulations on these benefits is because honestly, if we're just being 100% honest, we know that there's people that we know who are using this shit and they're using it to their benefit, but they're abusing the system. Like
Okay,
there's like
so let me say this. So let me just say this really quick. Your perspective is the same perspective a lot of Republicans and a lot of Trump and MAGA supporters actually share too, right?
no,
So
not at all, not at all,
yeah, it
not at
is.
all.
It's the same thing. See, that's the problem right there. That's the problem right there, right? Just
Not
so
not
what?
not
Hey, just so what? If y'all agree on this, hey, who cares, right? It is what it is.
right. So
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 don't
there's
get
a different
offended. Bro,
no
just say, hey,
there's a difference though, brother. There's a difference,
how?
brother.
Both of y'all, both you just said that the government take all this stuff, and they're saying the same thing. So how
So
now
so
it's a
so
difference.
so brother, check this out, right? Check this out.
Okay.
When it comes to the word, we're gonna use the word assist in assistance. Assist doesn't mean that you couldn't have got it on your own. It just means that John Stockton, we give you the pass so that you can dunk it a little bit easier after the pick and roll. That's all that is. Now,
That's a
it just
that's
so
a
it
conservative
just so
that's a
it,
conservative
it,
agenda.
it just no, it just so happens though. It just so happens though that the majority of people who actually need assistance don't look like anybody on this stage right now. If I'm being
Okay,
completely honest with you.
nobody's disagreeing, but you're telling us stuff we already know, right? Like you're
Right.
sitting here, everybody knows this, but what I'm saying is this: the problem, right? We all know, oh, we know this and that. The problem, right, comes in when I say, okay, well, Project 25, 2025 says the same thing that you said. Trump supporters will say the same thing that you just said.
I don't
Now
know
you're like,
nothing about
oh no.
I
Wait,
don't know
wait.
nothing
So
about I don't
why couldn't it be logic?
That's
right.
it.
Because why can't why does it have to be either side? Why can't it just be a logical ideology when it comes to running a government? Because like you said, when you assist, that's not a lifelong obligation that has to assist you forever. It's there for
Right.
you to get through your time, your moment. But it's a logic thing. So why does that have to be either side of the coin? Why can't that just be regular human logic?
So Michelle, check this out, right? Check this out, Michelle. You know that when you lose your job, you can apply for unemployment, right?
Hmm.
But you also know that unemployment runs out after a certain period of time.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if unemployment is able to run out after a certain period of time, then why wouldn't any other social service run out after a certain period of time? Now, mind you, the key word in that is the word social, and we live in a democracy. The whole concept of, well, supposedly we live in a democracy. We actually live in a republic, but that's neither here nor there. The whole
That's
concept,
another
though,
episode.
right. The whole concept is that you don't need help forever. Like we don't need 4 and 5 generations living in the same projects You know what I mean? Where they just passing down the benefits. And I'm not talking about white people. I'm not talking about black people. I'm actually talking about white people. Because if
You
you go
talking
to
about
like
stop right there. Stop. You're talking about everybody, right? You're talking
no,
about everybody.
listen,
Hold up. No, no, no,
listen.
no. We're talking because
You
see now.
you're
Hold
asking me to
on. See
explain,
now
but
we're
you're
not.
not letting me explain.
But
How does
because
that work? How does
I'm
that work?
stopping you at the point to
Okay,
where I'm saying
wait a minute.
I'm calling out the
Let him
BS.
finish.
He's like, oh, I'm not
Give him,
talking about
yeah,
black
it's
people, I'm
okay.
talking about white people.
It's okay.
Right.
So let's
But
give him 30 more seconds, and then
All
Jonathan,
right,
you can rebuttal.
all
And then
right,
SK,
all
if
right.
you
okay.
want to chime in, let's go ahead
All
and
right.
chime in, okay? Go ahead.
So Jonathan, Delaware, or it's either Delaware or Vermont, one or the other. I think it's Delaware, has some of the highest rates of social service users, and it's majority white. The thing is that when they're looking at these lifers, is what they call them, lifers, the ones who they just keep passing on these benefits to their children and their children's they're teaching them how to play the system, yada yada yada. The reality is that's not really majority black. I know that the media likes to make it sound majority black, but it really isn't. Most black people don't want to live off the government. That's just a fact. Most black people do not want to live off the government, but because they understand what comes with it. What comes with it is certain requirements. When they talk about things about how many people could be in the household, if a man could be in the household, yada yada yada, all this other shit. We've been taught to believe that we're the tops in all of that shit, when in reality we are actually not. We're the tops per capita. There's a difference because we're not even more than 15% of the population. So if they're 60% of the population, how the fuck are we the number one users of social services? That doesn't even begin to make sense. It doesn't begin
I
to make
agree.
sense. Especially when you understand the country's economic system and the fact that most of this country is either at or below $50,000 a year, and you know how much money it takes for you to qualify to be able to get social services. $50,000 a year. So and we're not even the majority of the population. So they're not referring to.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So let me.
Social services are a state provided um, funds, so that's not accurate because every state has a different threshold for what they determine would be required to qualify for social services. So that wouldn't be accurate. You would say that.
Right. So
Well,
even with what you
so
just said,
let me
brother,
say, so
the
let me
reason
say
why
this,
the
right?
oh,
Hold.
go
So let me
ahead.
just say this, right? So overall, right, looking at what we're discussing and talking about, the details might be a little bit off here and there, but at the end of the day, it seems like everybody agrees with what she said was the goal number two of Project 2025 about protecting life and things like that, because it seems like everybody wants to, you know, protect life, basically, help people get on their feet and do
What,
all
what
kind
does
of
that
other
mean
stuff.
to you? What does that mean to you?
What, protect life?
Yes. What does that phrase mean to you?
Well, so the thing is, right, it can mean many things. I'm not just on a particular definition of protecting life. I'm just saying whatever's valuable to you, you protect it, right? It's just my definition. And your definition could be different. And it's about things that you value. So there might be something that I don't value that you value, right? So
Almost.
Okay.
Almost.
Well, so with the values that are being presented here when it comes to protecting life, which was goal number one, and we had read that off, that protecting life was, life begins at conception, and then they want to stop the radical actors in and outside of the government promoting harmful identity politics. So how does
Pause right there, Michelle. Pause right there. When you read 2025, I want you to hear what she just said, but put it in the lens of a people who are trying to survive. Don't put it in the lens of yourself. Put it in the lens of a people who recognize and realize that they're about to be bred off this planet. This is not. They're not
See,
referring to us.
see, now, this is where I say where a lot of people who were birthed in the real pro-black movement would totally disagree with what he's saying. When you start thinking, and Dr. Amos Wilson talks about this in the Blueprint for Black Power, and multiple black scholars have talked about this, is from us always putting ourselves in the Eurocentric perspective. And that's the problem. We should be thinking from the Afrocentric perspective. So
I'm
when
not
I'm thinking
disagreeing
about,
with you on that.
hold on, let me finish. So he's saying what you're doing, Michelle, is wrong. And I'm saying that he is wrong. Because when you start thinking, oh, well, we're thinking from a people that's being exterminated. No, you need to be thinking of your self-interest in the fact that you're being exterminated. So
All right, so
should you start, hold on, let me finish. So should you start saying, hey, listen, black people are under attack. Maybe you're killing the next Malcolm X. Maybe you're killing the next doctor. Maybe you're killing the next black scholar, right? If they're thinking like that to survive, why aren't we thinking like that to survive? Why are we doing the total opposite? If they're we're just as much in survival mode as the white man. So, like I said, me and the brother SK was talking about power. All of us. This is a fight for power. So
all right,
if
so
you're
Jonathan,
exterminating, hold on, I let you talk for like 10 minutes. I'm gonna
definitely
let you
wasn't
get in.
10 minutes.
Oh, okay, but well, I let you talk, and and the thing is, right? When you start looking at it from a people that's being exterminated from an Afrocentric perspective, then I can say this abortion is wrong, right? We need to value the next generation and pour into and take care of people and be a village, and that's a fact. So I just had to throw that out there because it's time for us to start.
May I chime in now?
Both of y'all are really saying the same thing, but just on a different way and a different perspective.
Yep.
Because you're thinking of it as us. Because this is the thing. Honestly, I don't think they're going extinct. I'm not even gonna lie to you because if you look at their numbers, they got. I mean, unless we're not doing the census, they got almost 200 million of them, and we only got 46 or something like that, 48, 50 million. So I don't know about that unless they're counting other races that count themselves as white. You get what I'm saying? But at the same time, both of you guys are literally saying the same thing, and y'all are crisis is looking at it as more as a document. Why do we need them to help us? You know what I'm saying? Oh, what happened to Jonathan? Okay, he's gone.
No, I think no. His signal was going. He was chopping up, and then he disappeared.
Okay. Well, I like I said, I just think you both are saying the same thing, just in a different way. But
So,
it's almost like he doesn't want to admit that he has Republican views, even
so
though he
Michelle,
agrees with the views of the Republicans.
check this out, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you read the 2025, right, and and you start. What's the first thing you said about the protecting life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Protecting life. Whose life are they actually protecting? Have now, mind you, I
Theirs
love.
because they have more of them. It's theirs.
No,
They're
no,
trying to
no,
build.
no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
The reason, because we have to look at the reason. The reason why they're protecting theirs is because their birth rate is being outpaced by their mortality rate. The same thing happened in Southeast Asia, where now you see Japanese people asking black men to go mate with their women. Why? Because their birth rate is being outpaced by their mortality rate. Now, out here, they don't want us to start breeding with their women. So instead, They want us to have less babies. So now when they're look, don't get it twisted. They're not in favor of not of not liking abortion because of the fact that they like black people. They're in favor of not liking abortion because they're not populating enough. That's the whole purpose of it. We've never had an issue with population ever, ever in the history of the world. We've never had an issue with that. So when you see this type of shit happening, they're not talking about us in that manner. They're talking about themselves in that manner.
Even though
They
they
want to.
mention us, even though they mention us.
When they mention us, it's because they don't want us to keep having babies. It's not because they want to save our
Well,
babies.
the reason why I said that because when they talk about flourishing families and stuff, that and fatherless homes, they specifically mention black children. And I don't like the way they label the statistics. They say 80% of black children live in a single parent home, when really it's much less than that. It's like around 50%, 48 to 50%.
Which that number is actually false as well. But that's neither here nor there. The thing about the way that they tend to frame the arguments. Listen to the way they frame the argument. On one hand, they think they look. They'll say to you, you know what? We're not in favor of abortions, but yet go look at the numbers of Planned Parenthood centers that have been set up in the black community since 2016. I think 2016 is when Trump first came in office, or was it 2018? Maybe it was 2018.
2016. No, it was
Okay,
2016.
go find out how many Planned Parenthood centers were established since he came into office and what areas they were established in. They're not worried about us. The only thing for us that they're worried about is the fact that we're gonna outpace them.
Well, at this moment, you still there, crisis? At this moment, the way it looks in the document is pretty much saying that they're going to be defunding all of those facilities they just put up. They're not. They're really just trying to. They don't want to support that because they don't look at abortion as health care, so it shouldn't be funded by the government.
It shouldn't be. Actually,
Yeah.
abortion should be by the state and not by the federal government. That's just. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. Is your body, your
Mm-hmm.
choice. I get it, but that's the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is it should be by state. It shouldn't be for the federal government. But their logic for wanting to, because remember, they still got to play. They still got to play the game. They still have to play the game, and because they still have to play the game, they're not going to allow the game to be played in a manner that doesn't ultimately see them as the benefactor. You think that they're going to say, oh, we need to not kill over 1 million black babies every year, because at that point, that's going to put them at a disadvantage when it comes to the census, especially if they ever did a true census. How many, like, both of you on the stage right now, both of you look like you're old enough to remember when they used to say that your race was based off of who?
Your mother?
Nope. The
What?
father,
Oh, I ain't never heard of
the,
it.
the father, the mother part, that's specifically a Jewish thing. That wasn't
Oh,
every culture. That wasn't
mm.
every culture. It used to be off of the father. If your father was black, you're black.
Is that the reason why men always had the rights over the children?
SK,
Yeah,
did you not hear that?
yeah. No, if you probably black, you like whatever. Well, hold on. So it really was if you got any type of black in you, you was black. From what I
You was
remember.
black.
Yeah.
But specifically the father, they would get away with the mother. That was the whole logic behind that movie with Holly Berry when she was young, the Alex Haley movie where she was
Queen.
white passing? Queen. Right, right. That was the whole logic behind that movie because of the fact that she had a black father but a white mother, but she looked and passed for white. Bro, listen, I'm gonna tell you something, SK. I was watching this movie. I was watching this movie the other day, right? In this movie, there was a black lady. I'm talking about as like, look, you see a picture of me. You don't see the video because I ain't got no haircut. I look like a whole caveman right now, so I ain't gonna come off camera yet. But there was, you know, what I mean, there was this movie where this lady who was as black as I am, and I'm crunchy black. You know what I mean? Crunchy, CRUNCHY, crunchy black. Like there was a lady who was as black as I am who went to the school to pick her daughter up, and the teacher was like, "You might be in the wrong classroom," and she was like, "Are you sure?" And then there was this really light skinned ass girl in the classroom who was ashamed that that was her mother because the whole class thought that she was white.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when they realized that that was the daughter gets up angry and runs out of the classroom and runs into the rain out of the school because now she was outed for being black. So what you're referring to in terms of the 1 ounce, right? 1 ounce, that means you black, right? The reality is that just meant you were mulatto. That's what it really meant. No, I mean, when they put it into the film, when they put it into film, it was to make people like myself, who are dark as hell, feel some type of way about having dark skinned babies because we felt like they wouldn't be accepted. That's how they
Understood.
played
I
it.
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Well, it's pretty much time to wrap up. We've already been on here for a good hour. I really appreciate everybody
I
tuning
just got
in.
here. How y'all wrapping
Oh
up already?
no! Oh, we've been on here for a good minute.
Can I ask SK a question? Can I ask SK a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, we got like a couple more
Hey,
minutes,
yo,
like 5 more
hey,
minutes.
all right, SK, let me ask you a question, bro. Where do you see our role as black men in this rebirth? And I'm gonna call it a rebirth for a reason. Where do you see our role in this rebirth of the black community?
I mean, so when I was kind of looking at things, I kind of see it from a standpoint of we almost have come out of like a dark ages. Like if you want to keep it a band, like that 80s, 90s era was really some dark ages shit when you look back at it from a standpoint of unity, community, how we value our women, that gangster little 90s, that was a wild time you look back at it. So now it's kind of like a situation now where we kind of basically undoing a lot of what damage that was done back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, we more successful now than we probably ever was as far as like more educated now than ever was. And now it's kind of like, all right, we need to basically kind of like undo the wrongs and basically restore order, kind of like be the forefront of leading things.
Now, before I respond to you, let me ask you another question. Do you feel more free than the people who you looked up to when you were a child?
All right, when you say looked up to, do you mean like
I'm not, no, I don't give a fuck about Martin Luther King and all that. I'm talking about like your mother, your father, the people who you saw day to day. Do you feel more free than the people that you looked up to as a child?
absolutely?
And say
But
why. Say why. Say why though.
'cause I have access to more things. I'm able to do more things than they were.
All right, perfect. So Michelle, can I say one thing to you? And I'm sorry to
Yes,
take you over. I'm sorry to take you over time,
it's
but
okay.
here,
Yeah, it's okay.
but check this out, right? So the brother just told you. He just told you two very important things, right? He gave you the understanding of why he feels the way he feels, but then he also gave you the understanding of what he feels like where he's at now as compared to the people that he grew up around, if for lack of a better term. I say look up to, but I'm only saying that because of proximity bias in terms of parents. That's the only reason why I say it that way.
Hmm.
Do you understand there's a word that he said in there that was so important. He called it the Dark Ages. Now, mind you, in Europe, when we binded the Caucasians in the hills of Northwest Asia, which we now call Europe, when we binded them in the hills of Northwest Asia, you know what they called it?
The Dark Ages,
They called it the Dark Ages. And you know what came after that?
the Renaissance.
The Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment. Because
Hmm.
that was when they were finally able to break free of that bondage and travel the world. And when they decided to travel the world, you know what they did?
They enslaved everybody.
Nope, not even that. They said fuck that. We're never gonna let this happen ever again. And what they
Right.
did is they went everywhere around the world and they killed all the elders, burnt all the books, and enslaved all the people because they were never gonna allow themselves to be put in that position ever again. And now mind you, SK, out of respect to you, brother, like I'm sorry that I had to because I had to pose that question in a way where I knew what you was gonna say. So I want to allow you the final word on that when you hear what I just said.
No, I follow you. I mean, I use that specific word, Dark Ages, as a direct reference to that period in time. Like, as far as being a Black American who's 44 years old, I can remember what that time was like and kind of like the way we moved back then. And, it's kind of like the
Oh yeah,
situation like the
you
pendulum.
81, 82. All right, we right
Right.
there. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the pendulum. So it's like, all right, the pendulum was way swinging one way in the 90s. Then, we just basically had like the Me Too type movement, which in my estimate is the pendulum swinging the opposite direction. And now it's kind of like we feel like we in a space where things are starting to settle to like a happy medium. Like, all right, that was too far. This was too far. Where can we have compromise? Where can we move forward at? Yeah.
Right, but SK, tell like, and I know this might be recorded or whatnot, but no, SK, tell the people who might hear this later, tell them about the part, and because you and I from the same generation, tell them about 89 to 95, where shit didn't make sense for us because we were kids at that time. Shit didn't make sense to us because you had the people who were leaving, they were leaving the coke era and going into the crack era, and then at the same time, it became the high crime era and the era where people who used to be community leaders became fiends and were no longer community leaders. We were a part of that generation where the gap started to become created. We could no longer be a part of the old generation because too many of them were strung out and on some fuck shit. But yet
Yeah.
we were also young enough to be a part of the newer generation where we was trying to get money, but we wasn't necessarily trying to die. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the early part. That's the early part. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying when I'm like we have to get like yo, we that Dark Ages reference that you gave, brother, is literally the greatest reference I've ever heard in my life. Because if we could give this a reference that would make sense in history, this was our dark ages. The same way that the Europeans had their dark ages, And when they came out of it, what did they come with? The Age of Enlightenment, the
And
Renaissance.
vengeance. And vengeance.
Right, is the word you just used, Michelle? Was that the word vengeance?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's exactly what the fuck was happening right now. So at the end of the day, the problem is though the vengeance part. The vengeance part is the part that brothers like myself and SK have to deal with these young boys, because these young boys are coming of warrior age, and when they're coming of warrior age, they're not stupid. They're smart and they're angry, and we're trying to keep them from going out here and doing the most because we care about them. Some of them are our little brothers. Some of them are our sons. We don't want to see them just crash out just for the sake of crashing out. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine, and I know this might not be a popular example for both of you, but imagine if you would have took a brother like King Von and gave him actual knowledge of self.
Mm-hmm.
With the amount of anger and fervor that he had in his soul, the fervor and anger that he had in his soul stemmed from the fact that he didn't grow up with who? His daddy. The only person who was able to keep him in line was the person who used to be the best friend of his daddy. And that's the same person now snitching on his son for backdooring King Von. And the only reason why the only reason why he's snitching on them is because King Von's father was his best friend. Like, SK, please tell me where I'm not making sense, please,
No, I hear what
brother.
you're saying. I mean, I think a lot of what went on with King Vaughn is just about his their whole region. That's just what they on. So it's like, I mean, he's product
Yeah,
of his
I only
environment, so
say
to
I
speak.
only say because I know niggas from there. That's the only reason why I'm saying this.
Yeah, no,
But
I'm saying like that's just like that's how they get down there. So it's like, he just, just
so look, Michelle. At the end of the day, and I know we're going over. At the end of the
Yes.
day, here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Black men, we understand what y'all have done. Y'all have done more than enough to push the line for
Yeah.
for black people. There's a lot of black men who will acknowledge, recognize, and appreciate what y'all have done. At the ignorance, it literally just means you don't know. And
Right.
if they don't know, how can I be mad at them? They don't know.
Yeah. 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 Well, we're gonna wrap it up. See you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, SK. Thank you,
stay
Shop
out.
Kim. Thank you, Christ is Black, for tuning in. Guys, please like and subscribe. This has been another episode of Cocktails with Michelle.